I decided that I'm going to do a video every single day this month, all the way up until New Year's Eve, and for the first video I'm going to be baking. I have been watching those Instagram videos of people frosting cakes as a way to like calm down at the end of a day, and now I bake a lot. So yeah, I'm going to be baking a Victoria sponge cake. I am going to be using the recipe by Felicity Cloak, who writes for The Guardian. She does like compendium recipes, so she goes through and tests loads of other people's recipes for the thing that she's making, and then kind of pushes them all together for the best bits, and it makes the perfect version. So I'm going to be following her recipe for a Victoria sponge cake, and then I'm going to ice it. First step for making any cake is turn your oven on and grease and line your cake tin. If you have a non-stick cake tin, you don't have to line it, you can just grease it. This is non-stick, but it's very old non-stick, so I'm going to line it anyway, especially because I'm going to be cutting the cake out, so it doesn't matter if the edges aren't super nice. So cut kind of some strips to go around the edge. You want their thickness to be the same amount as the height of your cake tin. Because the cake tin that I'm using has a detachable bottom, mostly because it is designed for cheesecakes rather than baking cakes. So because of this, I'm going to take the bottom out, line that, and then line the sides. So put just a tiny bit of butter in the middle. I use my fingers because it's easier, and just kind of move it around so that you've got something to stick your paper down with. Pull the baking parchment out through the bottom, just so that it's as flat as it can be. And then if you want, just trim the excess. Same principle again for the sides. So a bit of butter. Obviously, if you want to make this recipe without using dairy butter, then you can use like vegan alternatives. Pure spread does the same thing. You just need a bit of fat, really, something to stick to, and then we put a bit of paper in. Lined tin. You can basically put that to the side, but it's useful to do at the beginning because it's out of the way. Other thing is heat your oven. I have a terrible, terrible oven. I hate this oven more than I hate most inanimate objects. And so the first thing, ingredients wise, is weighing your eggs. Which says to weigh the eggs in their shells. Of course, that's when the fridge turns on. Stay. This becomes harder when your scales are flat. So they're 178. You then want the same weight of butter. She says to put unsalted butter and then a pinch of salt. I just use salted butter because it's easier. Want preferably for the butter to be soft, so like leave it out beforehand, but if you forget, it's okay. It just takes a little while longer for it to do its thing when you mix it. Cool, 179. So I'm then going to reset my scales and put sugar in. Once you have your sugar and your butter, you need to whisk them together. I'm going to use an electric handheld whisk because whisking by hand is long and I am both lazy and not very good at it. If I was at home, I would use a mixer that we have, like a stand-up mixer, but either one works just as well. I tend to kind of, before I start, just use the whisk to push the butter around in the sugar a bit so that when you start, it doesn't all just go flying completely out of the bowl. And again, to do it in blitzes so that the same thing, like I'm not just going to end up with a kitchen full of sugar. You should end up with something that looks a bit like this. Something kind of the similar consistency to the top of like clotted cream. And now it is time for eggs. I find that you can tell really easily when you've added the eggs because the consistency gets a lot lighter and a lot easier to whisk. That's the last you're going to need the hand mixer for until we come to decorating the cake, but for the actual baking, everything from now on will be using a wooden spoon. Now you're going to add flour, again the same amount of flour as the weight of your eggs. You're supposed to sift flour, but it's messy, and this is a brand new packet of flour, so I'm just going to fold it straight in, but don't do that. So the trick with folding is that you don't want to get rid of all of the air that you've beaten in. It's basically what whisking is, you're just adding loads and loads of air. The thing with folding is that you want to mix the ingredients, but you really don't want them to lose all of the air that you've just added in. So the key with that is being really gentle and really slow and not over mixing. So as soon as they're actually mixed together, you want to stop. But equally, you don't want to be left with loads of flour at the bottom of your bowl, so then your cake won't rise well enough. Now I'm going to add vanilla extract for flavour, a bit of baking powder, and if it needs it, some milk. So this is what your end mixture should look like. Cakey. Add it to your tin. Chocolate, you basically just, instead of adding vanilla essence, you use a bit of cocoa powder and you take a little bit of the flour away. The recipe then says to put it in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes, but in the oven at home it only takes 20, so I'm going to check it after 20 and then see if it needs a little bit longer. Set a timer for 20 minutes.
Alright, 20 minutes. Starting now.
Oh wowie, I'm not even gonna take that out because that is still wobbling around. I'm gonna set the timer for another 7 minutes and come back to it. Check that they come out completely clean, and that is cooked. You want to leave it to cool inside the tin for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then if you've got a wire rack, you want to take it out of the tin and put it on the wire rack. I don't have one of those. So I will probably leave it in the tin for a little bit longer than that, and then just place it. I might take the outer off in 10 minutes and leave it to cool. I'm going to ice it tomorrow, so in the meantime it's going to be stored in the fridge, but I want to wait until it's much cooler before I do that, because otherwise it'll make things that it's sitting there warm, and that's just a bad plan. But yeah, 10 minutes in the tin and then let it cool completely on a wire rack if you have one. Cool. So it's the next day, hence outfit change. Gonna do frosting. I follow a kind of recipe for buttercream frosting, but I also kind of just judge it by eye. But so I will link the recipe that I kind of follow in the description, which I will also do with all of the recipe. But yeah, with buttercream I kind of just judge it by eye as it goes on. The nice thing about these butter packs is that they put markers on the pack where approximate weight dividers would be. So start with 150 grams of butter, and I'm gonna cut it up a little bit so that it's not one giant block. My butter has also been out of the fridge for a couple of hours so that it is nice and soft and would almost be spreadable on toast. And I'm just gonna whisk this. Cool, so I have now coloured this frosting green, this frosting orange, and I've left a tiny amount of white. But the next thing to do is cut out the cake. I'm decorating my cake like a cactus from a video I saw on Instagram. I want to start with a crumb coat. I couldn't find my cake tabletop turner, so I was just doing it onto a plate. Once you've done a crumb coat, I just put mine in the fridge for like half an hour so that it's set and ready to ice properly. And once the whole thing is covered in icing, I start decorating by just piping with a star-shaped nozzle up the sides, and do that for the whole cake. And then once the whole top bit has been iced like that, just put it on top of the other and maybe add a like top of the pot with a like flat shaped nozzle and then a smiley face. Ta-da! I think if nothing else we can say that I do not have a future as a child's birthday cake baker, because this is terrifying. But look, it smiles. Or, you know, haunts your nightmares, whichever you prefer. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow.